Very good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
Headlines for you at 6 o'clock this morning. The Prime Minister says he's deeply concerned about footage of police officers breaking up the vigil on Clapham Common held in memory of Sarah Everard.
Boris Johnson will chair a crime and justice summit today following strong criticism of the Metropolitan Police. Its head, Dame Cressida, insists she won't resign.
What has happened makes me more determined, not less, to lead my organisation.
It's back to school for more pupils in Scotland today as lockdown restrictions are eased, while Wales becomes the first part in the UK where you can get a haircut.
A whole year of working from home. Good morning. What have we learned? What will stick? And what are your rights if and when the boss asks you to come back in? I'll have the advice.
We have a contender for goal of the season. Have a look at this. Eric Lamella's incredible strike fires Tottenham into the lead against Arsenal, but Spurs go on to lose the game 2-1.
And after the stormy conditions of last week, much quieter this week, thankfully. There will be some rain at times, but most of the time it will be dry. I'll have the full forecast here on Breakfast.
So it's Monday, the 15th of March. Top story for you this morning is that the Prime Minister will chair a meeting today of the government's Crime and Justice Task Force after saying he is deeply concerned about the way police handle a vigil in memory of Sarah Everard.
The Prime Minister said every part of the criminal justice system needed to work to protect and defend women and girls. Among those attending today's summit will be the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Dame Cressida, who's resisted calls to resign in the wake of the events on Clapham Common.
We should say that this report from Simon Jones does contain some flashing images.
They are scenes that have shocked and brought shame on the Metropolitan Police, according to some politicians and protesters. Women who'd gathered to mark the life of Sarah Everard at an unauthorised vigil at Clapham Common, taken away in handcuffs for breaching coronavirus restrictions. It's led to calls for the Metropolitan Police Commissioner to resign, but she says she's going nowhere and has defended her officers.
Are you considering your position?
No, I'm not. They have to make these really difficult calls. And I don't think anybody should be sitting back in an armchair and saying, well, that was done badly or I would have done it differently, without actually understanding what was going through their minds.
But the Prime Minister has now joined the debate. In a statement, Boris Johnson says, like everyone who saw it, I was deeply concerned about the footage from Clapham Common on Saturday night. I have spoken with the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, who has committed to reviewing how this was handled. The Metropolitan Police Commissioner will today attend a meeting of the government's Crime and Justice Task Force. It will be chaired by the Prime Minister. He says the death of Sarah Everard must lead to a determination to drive out violence against women and girls and make every part of the criminal justice system work to protect them. There have been further protests around Westminster. On this occasion, the police did not intervene. But a senior officer accused some of turning up not to remember Sarah Everard's life, but simply to hurl abuse at officers. One human rights group, though, says the police have yet to explain properly their actions on Saturday night.
I think that the police, they chose actions that were aggressive, they chose actions that were distressing, they caused chaos, and ultimately they created the public health risk. And this is all the more sort of disgusting when you consider that people were here to protest the fact that they are unsafe in public space, that women are unsafe.
The Metropolitan Police were already being investigated for events around the Sarah Everard murder inquiry. But now those investigations will go further, examining how they've responded to the huge outpouring of public emotion since her death. Simon Jones, BBC News.
Well, Simon just now joined us from Clapham Common. Simon, morning to you. More than 24 hours on, and there's a lot of pressure on the Met Police this morning, isn't there?
Yes, and one senior officer has said the Met need to rebuild trust with the public. And you get a sense here of just how much the public has been affected by the death of Sarah Everard. Look at all these flowers here. Yesterday there was a steady stream of people arriving with bouquets. Some of them were in tears. They stopped for a quiet moment of contemplation. They didn't know Sarah Everard, but they have been so touched by what happened to her. But as well as the bouquets dotted around here are a number of placards criticising the police and particularly their response to that unofficial vigil here on Saturday evening. Now, Boris Johnson has expressed his concern, the Home Secretary has expressed her concern, along with the Labour leader and also the Mayor of London. But to try to diffuse some of that, the Commissioner faced the cameras yesterday and she said at times policing during the coronavirus pandemic is fiendishly difficult, meaning difficult decisions have to be made. So it was when the crowd got large on Saturday evening and the police felt that it was getting too dangerous in terms of a lack of social distancing that officers asked people to go, and they said when some refused, that's when they started to make arrests. Now, the government too recognises the scale of this. They have ordered an independent inquiry into the policing and also that meeting today of the Crime and Justice Task Force, and that is going to look at what can be done to make people feel safer. And a recent survey opened by the Home Office on Friday has already received 50,000 responses.
Simon, thank you for that update. And that's a subject we'll be looking at throughout the morning for you. We'll be speaking to the Policing Minister, Kit Malthouse, at 7:30 this morning.
A £3 billion plan, which would include hundreds of miles of new bus lanes and more frequent services, has been promised for England.
The government's strategy aims to make buses cheaper, greener and easier to use, but there are concerns the money won't be available quickly enough and that recent cuts to some routes won't be reversed. Our transport correspondent Caroline Davis has more.
Buses can be better. That's the message from the government today, who set out a list. They want to see simpler bus fares, more services, contactless payments, more bus lanes and 4,000 electric and hydrogen buses. And they have £3 billion to make it happen. Councils and bus companies will need to work together to create a legally binding plan that includes introducing these ideas in order to get some of that money. It's a long wish list. Some passenger groups are pleased but want to know how it's going to work.
The objectives the government set out are hugely welcome, but we want to see how they're actually going to pay for these and how they're going to make sure that the increased services they promise will actually happen on the ground. But I don't want to be challenged in any way. This is a very good document.
Some of the measures, like new bus lanes, are likely to be unpopular with motorists. Unite, which represents 70,000 bus workers, are worried that the strategy doesn't say anything about drivers' pay and conditions, and it's concerned that the money promised won't be available soon enough. Labour has said that this plan offers nothing to reverse lost bus routes over the years. While most of us might not be stepping on board for now, the government hopes that these ideas will persuade more of us to take the bus. Caroline Davis, BBC News.
All secondary school pupils in Scotland will return to the classroom part-time from today in the latest easing of restrictions. Meanwhile, all primary school children who are not already back will restart face-to-face learning. It's expected all pupils will return to school full-time after Easter. The Scottish Government's defended the move after the teaching union, the EIS, said teachers were exhausted.
Hairdressers and barbers in Wales are reopening this morning, the first part of the UK to relax the rules for those wanting a trim. All salons shut there on the 28th of December following a rise in coronavirus cases. Welsh primary schools will also welcome back children today after some year groups returned 3 weeks ago. All children come back from today.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.